When it comes to racing in GTA 5, we know there's cars that are amazing, and then there's cars that just aren't as good. Now, for the longest time, we've been saying the X80 Proto and the Vapid FMJ have been the worst ones to use. So I decided to go do a couple races, drive around the streets of Los Santos, and also compare them to a couple other vehicles, like the Krieger and the Emrys, which are two of the main vehicles I always use when it comes to racing in GTA 5. And I came to some conclusions, so I hope you go on to enjoy the video, and let's kick things off by talking about the FMJ first. So all in all, the car itself looks pretty great. I do wish there was more customizations for it, but I mean, you know, it is what it is. Before I used to drive it around all the time. I didn't use it too much in races though, because when it really comes down to it, this car just isn't the best thing in the world. I was hitting top speeds of around 135 miles per hour, which is pretty great. We all know the actual detailed top speed isn't real whatsoever, because if you're going downhill, you're going to go a bit faster, you go over a little bump, and you get a huge speed boost because of GTA physics. Either way though, when it comes to it and comparing it to the other vehicles that I was driving around, it just didn't accelerate fast enough to get to the point of where it can actually compare to vehicles like the Emrys, Krieger, or X80 Proto. So really, it's just not the best thing in the entire world. It is still relatively cheap, and is a beautiful looking car, but when it comes to racing, there's definitely some other vehicles that are a lot better out there, and this one is barely subpar. Now, talking about the X80 Proto, I used to talk so much shit about this thing because whenever I did used to use it, I would always get destroyed because it just didn't feel right. But then I started driving it around recently, did a couple more races with it, and I saw it's actually an amazing vehicle. The way I could describe the X80 Proto is pretty much like it's unlocked. It has so much potential, but you need to be a good racer. I guess before I was literally just terrible at racing. But now that I'm driving it around, I can see, comparing it to the Emrys and the Krieger, I actually have way more control of the vehicle than I thought I did. Then again, I am doing this on PC, so it does make a bit of a difference. Maybe on controller, you might have a couple more issues, but at the end of the day, it just comes down to skill. Yes, it does fishtail a lot, but if you know how to control that and fix it, then you're pretty much good to go. When I was driving around the Emrys and the Krieger, they felt a whole lot more stiff. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That means you have a lot more control of the vehicle, which is obviously something you'd want. But like I said, this just feels like it's unlocked. Imagine getting an iPhone, and it's locked specifically to one carrier. And then you have another iPhone that you could just pick any carrier that you want. That's pretty much the way I could describe it. Or it's like traction control is just off. And if you're able to handle a vehicle when traction control is off, you don't have to deal with all the other safety features and stuff like that, you'll be able to do some pretty insane shit. I'm not saying the Emrys and the Krieger are bad. These are still the cars that I always use for racing, but now that I realized I've gotten better at racing, I'm able to control the X80 Proto very, very well. Another way I could explain it is, for example, if you're racing and there's 3 different types of cars you could use: easy, medium, and hard when it comes to a skill rating. Something like the Wagner is very easy. Something like the Emrys and Krieger are maybe in the medium area. And then hard would be something like the X80 Proto, because, like I said, it is a pretty insane vehicle. It's very lightweight, has a high top speed, and the acceleration is phenomenal on it, but in terms of control, you don't have as much control as you would with something like the Emrys and the Krieger, which tend to correct themselves very easily. The X80 Proto, sadly, doesn't do that, but like I said, it's not really an issue if you can control it. So when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, it is still an amazing vehicle. It's just based on your skill rating, and whatever that is, you should be picking a car based on that. So if you're not the best racer in the world, then consider getting the Wagner, or the Krieger, or the Emrys, or the Torero XL. But if you feel like you are a skilled racer, you win a lot of races, or maybe you almost win, but some dickhead just smashes you off the map for no reason, or there's some random dude driving backwards, if you feel like you're good, give it a shot, because the car itself is great. You just got to know how to control it, and you will absolutely demolish everybody. I remember back in the day when the X80 first came out, I mean, a lot of people did good with it, but a lot of people did absolutely terrible, just because they didn't know how to control it. Some people can, and some people can't, and that's pretty much it at the end of the day. Either way, the FMJ is not good, but the X80 has potential to be good if you know what you're doing. The Emrys and the Krieger are still some of my favorite cars to race with. It just feels like you're a bit locked out of the potential, I guess. There's cars in real life that do the same thing. It's like having a rev limiter. Like on my car in real life, I can only rev it up to 4,000 RPM. But then if I were to get it tuned, I could unlock that, and, you know, there's more potential there, along with many other things, obviously. So that's pretty much what I'm trying to say. Let me know down below in the comment section what you guys think. Do you think the X80 Proto is actually a really good car, but it just requires a bit more skill to handle and control compared to other vehicles in the game? Because when I was driving it, that's pretty much exactly how I felt. Let me know down below what you guys think, but anyways, that's going to wrap things up for today. Thank you so much for watching, and with that said, I will catch you guys in the next one.